Hello and welcome to the second lesson of the Betfair Trading Masterclass. I'm Martin, your Betfair Trading tutor if you don't know. Thank you for joining me in this second lesson. The first one went really well. Thank you for the amazing feedback and support you guys showed. We're going to carry on doing these. Remember, these are members only, so don't go out to everyone. You are very privileged to be watching this right now. And let's get into the second lesson. Now, as you may or may not know, the topic is understanding Betfair odds and finding value, as you can see on the presentation here. What we will be covering today, we're going to cover what decimal odds are, we're going to cover how odds are created, we're going to cover percentage chance of odds and why that matters, and also how you can work out if a price is wrong, and more importantly, exploit that. Why is it important? Well, understanding decimal odds is crucial for correct bet entry. And I think that's fairly self-explanatory, right? If we don't understand the odds or understand whether we're getting value or not, how can we place a bet? It's also important because finding out how prices are created affects if they're exploitable or not. And again, I'm going to debunk some myths about this as we go along. And thirdly, finding value equals potential profitable winning strategy. And I can't stress enough how important that is. And actually, if you are finding value, you will make money if you're using the right staking, bet staking, and bankroll management. Just by the nature of maths. If you've got an edge, you keep pushing that edge and you're not taking great risk in doing so in terms of the amount you're betting, you'll make money over time. That's scientific fact. Okay, so let's get into it. Winning on Betfair is all about beating the odds, right? Now, I think we understand that, most of us, but it's important to remind yourself. You want to be beating the odds in front of you. You don't want the odds to be right. You don't want them to be not value either if you're backing them, for instance. Most Betfair traders start out by betting on what they think will win. This is a big mistake that Betfair traders make. Their first thought, and it's a natural thought, and I think most of us did it, I certainly did, you go with what you think's going to win. You're not looking for the value. It's natural to think that matters because, logically you go, well, yeah, but if I think this is going to win, then surely I back the outcome I think is most likely. Now, if that's true, why do most gamblers lose? Because we're not all awful at, picking results, for example. I think most of us could pick, let's say, end of the season, most of us could have picked Man City to beat Tottenham away when Tottenham had not that much to play for. Okay, slight chance of Champions League. But Man City were going for the title, and also Tottenham fans didn't even want them to win, right? But Man City's odds were 1.4, and if you watch that game, you would actually see that Tottenham had a real good chance of at least drawing it. So actually, those were short odds, and are you going to want to take those short odds just because you think the outcome will happen? You shouldn't really. I'll get into that a bit more as we go. I think that a lot of gamblers lose because they're not thinking about value. They're just thinking about who will win. We never know who will win in sports betting or trading, and that's why if you're only betting based on who you think will win, you won't make money because we don't know who will win. Right? What we've got to do is find a value position and take advantage of it and win more often than not in that sense than we need to compared to the odds. So betting on who we think will win, it's just not good enough. It's simply not good enough. So we make educated guesses and combine those with value odds. And that's really key, those two things there. One way we do this is to price up a market ourselves. Okay, I'm going to do a little bit about how you can do that in a minute. What odds would you give the team playing today? So that's the kind of thought you want to have. If you're betting on a football match, for instance, well, what odds would you give that team? Man City playing away to Tottenham. If that was a regular season game, where earlier in the season, I suppose it was a regular season, but if it was earlier in the season, say mid-season, Man City wouldn't be 1.4 to win away at Tottenham. No chance. They'd be much closer to evens. So that's the kind of position where you can go, okay, what should the odds actually be? If the real odds are way off on your odds, then they may be valued to back or lay. And this is important, right? You might go, well, okay, Man City, let's say in that scenario, you go, Man City are way too short, they should be close to evens. Well, then in that situation, you're going to want to lay, aren't you? Because they're too short. But if Man City were, say, 3.0 and you thought they should be evens, then you should back Man City because they're value in your book. But bookies never get it wrong, right? I hear this all the time. You can't beat the bookies; they never get it wrong. I mean, let's ignore all the people that do beat the bookies on a regular basis, and it's not just Betfair trading community people. It's not just us guys. There's lots of people out there that do it. You might know some of them. So that people do beat them. So it's just, frankly, that's just not true. And I'm going to show you why we can debunk this pretty easily. It's such a myth. Look at Leicester winning the Premier League title at 5,000 to 1. There is no way in hell, if the bookies thought there was a real chance of Leicester winning, they would even give you odds of, say, 100 to 1, right? Because the reality is they are not going to give you 5,000 to 1 on something they actually think has a chance of happening. Bookies are also swayed by the volume of money placed on a bet. So now, if you'll know about this actually, if you used to bet back in the day. So when I started betting, it was more about bookies. It was more about going into your betting shops, right? Most of you and a lot of you guys will understand that as well, because a lot of you will be similar age to me or older. Now, here's the thing. We know that what used to happen and what still happens was if someone came in and put a massive bet on, so let's say someone walks into Betfred and goes, right, I'm going to put 100 grand on, I don't know, Fury to beat Usyk. And they go, wow, 100 grand, geez, we better. What they do is they then cut the price because they start to fear it. And they go, well, there's a volume of money here, so we're moving with the prices. It's a bit like the stock market, right? Prices are irrelevant to what someone's willing to pay. Think about it in any line of work. And the reason those odds come in is because people are piling in at that price, so the bookies cut the odds. They cut the odds if someone backs big, like I say. And they are swayed by public opinion too much, in my opinion. They do seem to move based a lot of the time on public opinion, which, for me, they should just be 100% reliant on computer models, but they're not. And that is where the angle comes from. And on Betfair, it's even better because a lot of the people trading are just people. It's not all just bookies trying to seed the markets. And remember, humans make errors. That's easy to forget, right? But humans make errors. And if we're using human judgment as part of it, we can take advantage of that. I should just bet on who will win. This is another myth that we need to debunk. This strategy alone will lose money over time. Okay, that's just straight facts. The reason is that you're not considering value. Would you put 100? Here's a really key example for this. Would you put £100 on to win £1 profit if Man City to win their next match? I don't know who they're playing, but let's say they're playing a Premier League game. Would you put 100 on to win £1? They're playing Luton, and you go, of course they're going to beat Luton. Yeah, maybe, but there's no way that's value. So it's crazy for you to do that. But there are people out there who would do that because they just want to bet on who will think will win. It won't make you money in the long run. You want to get away from that kind of thinking. Okay, let's get into it. What are decimal odds and how are odds calculated? So decimal odds are just a simpler form of the more traditional fractional ones, which you might have come across more in your betting career. They allow you to bet more easily in between the fractions. So this is why they're actually better to use. So I've given an example here. You can bet on 2.5, which is 6 to 4 in fractional odds, but it's 2.5 in decimal odds. But also you can bet on 2.52, 2.54, 2.56. Whereas the next common fraction would have been 8 to 5, which is actually 2.6. So you're getting the gap between 2.5 and 2.6, which you weren't likely to ever get from traditional bookies or from fractional odds back in the day. So that's kind of why the decimal odds are used. And as you can imagine, it's so much easier to look at odds like 2.5, 2.52, 2.54, and 2.56, rather than whatever fraction they'd have to use for 2.52. Because all the fractions look different. So, going from 2.5 to 2.6, it makes sense. You're going up a few ticks. The price is a little bit bigger. But going from 6 to 4 to 8 to 5, well, you might not, off the top of your head, straight away know which odds are shorter and which aren't. So that's the kind of thing where I feel like decimal odds is much easier to look at and kind of get and follow. Okay, so we're going to do a little bit of training on this. 2.0 odds are evens. Okay, so that's a really good base to start. So you know that 2.0 is evens. Anything below that is odds on. Anything above that is odds against. It would yield 100% profit if you win. So £10 stake, £10 profit. 1.5 odds are 1 to 2, and this would yield a 50% profit if you win. £10 stake, £5 profit. Okay, so as the odds come in, as they get shorter, obviously you're winning less money. 3.0 odds are 2 to 1, and this would yield a 200% profit if you win £10 stake, £20 profit. Okay, happy days if you get that. That's a really good return. Betfair will actually tell you your profit when you go to place the bet, so you don't really need to learn all of the decimal odds. Just be aware of them. Okay, just be aware of them. Odds are calculated by a combination of computer models, public opinion, and weight of money bet on the outcome. Okay, so what I'm going to get into now really is finding value, because once you've understood odds, and by the way, I know I'm going through this quite fast, so if you do need to pause the video, take some notes, or replay certain things, then please do so. Why does percentage chance matter, and how can I work out value? Okay, and this is really, really important. When deciding if a price is value, we must look at the odds and compare. Okay, if odds are too big, we back. If odds are too low, we lay. So let's use that example of 2.0. We know that now is evens. It's 50% chance of winning. But if we think an outcome has a higher percentage chance of winning, then we should back at those odds. But if we think it has less of a chance of winning, we should lay. Okay. For example, let's say we think Man United have a 50% chance to win a match. If the odds were 3.0 on Man United, we should back them. And if the odds are 1.5, 66% chance, we should lay them. We are betting because it's value to do so in either case. If the odds were around 2.0, 50% chance to win, we would not bet. Odds are correct in this instance, and they're no value. And by the way, most of the time, the odds will be right. Okay, that's where the myth of bookies never getting it wrong comes from, because they get it right most of the time. But the fact is they do get it wrong, and they get it wrong enough that we can exploit it. But the point is, often the prices will be right, and that's fine. You just don't bet. And again, this is another thing that's really important to get through to people, because I see a lot of people just trade a match because, I was watching it. Okay, did you find value? Did you find a good betting opportunity? Not really. I was watching it, so I had to have a bet because, I was watching the match, right? No. In fact, most of the time you shouldn't bet, because unless you find a value position or you find a value opportunity, you should not be taking advantage of the market, because the market will actually take advantage of you. Notice we are not betting because we think they will win. So in no instance here, and in nothing I've talked about, am I going, look, you think Man United are going to win today? Don't even look at the odds, just back them. That again, because at that point, you might as well just be going into bookmaker's shop, throwing a dart at the betting slip and betting on whatever comes up, right? Because there's no analytical thought to that. You're just going, well, I think they'll win. You haven't even checked the odds. You haven't even checked the value. If you're not getting a good price, who cares, right? If I go, do you know what? I really fancy a bar of chocolate today. Food is definitely one of my vices. I'm going to go into Tesco, right? And I'm going to buy a bar of chocolate. And I get there's only one bar of chocolate. Maybe there's a panic about chocolate. I got to till, there's no price on it. And I say, how much is it? They go, it's £1,000, £1,000, please. Do you think there's a way in hell I'm going to buy that bar of chocolate? But I wanted it, right? It would have satisfied my urge to eat a bar of chocolate, but it wasn't value. The value was horrendously bad. In fact, I should lay that price. I should try and sell that bar of chocolate and get in on that investment, because if you're getting £1,000 for a bar of chocolate, a bog standard bar of chocolate you find in Tesco, you're doing very well, right? Keep going at that business model. I like the sound of it. Now, using Betfair trading software makes this very easy, and I'm going to show you an example of this right now. Okay, so I'm at the Betfair Trading Community software here. I've gone to my safe filters, and I've gone to the over 2.5 goals one here. Just click Edit Filter, and the filter will come up. Now, this is the kind of thing I'd love you guys to try and create. Obviously not the same, but try and create things like this and build and adapt and work from there. The idea of this filter is very simple. We're looking to try and find value in the over 2.5 goals market. Okay, so the first filter I've got here is Betfair odds over 2.5 and then greater than or equal to 1.75. So in decimal odds, we are looking for games where the odds for over 2.5 are better than 1.75. Okay, now in the second part of this, it's overall percentage over 2.5, 65% or greater. Okay, so that's, I don't know if we added that. That is the filter basically in a nutshell. We're looking for odds of 1.75 plus on over 2.5 goals. And we're looking for games where the teams have had 65% or more over 2.5 goals in their recent history. Why is that? Why combine those two things? I'm glad you asked. I use Ace Odds for this, so not a bad idea to get in on that and go over to this site, just aceodds.com/betcalculator odds converter. If you put Ace Odds odds converter, that will come in on Google. But anyway, let's find odds of 1.75. So odds of 1.75 are here. It's actually slightly above this. It's between 1.73 and 1.8 here. So percentage chance of winning, 1.73 is 57.9. But let's say it's 57 for 1.75 because that's a slightly higher price, okay? So if odds of 1.75 are saying there's a 57% chance of winning, we need to find matches where the chance of winning is higher than 57%, right? And so what we've done here is we've looked for matches where the percentage chance is 65%. So we've actually got an 8% margin there. Now, the final thing I add to all my filters is just overall matches played greater than or equal to 8. And that's because I liked a few matches to have been played that season to make the data relevant. I've restricted to current season and I've excluded playoffs, okay? Give it a name when you do this before you save. It'll ask you anyway, so it should be right if you made a mistake. But here we go. We've got 5 matches today where the odds are higher. So instantly, in theory, these matches could be good value for trading. And the great thing is, I've now got a shortlist of 5 matches from the hundreds of matches that are on today that will actually pique my interest and may be worth trading. Now, would I straight back these? No, not yet. I'd test this strategy for a few months and maybe 2 to 3 months, get a few hundred results, start to see if there's any patterns. Do certain odds work better than others, for example? Do certain leagues work better than others? But you see how the foundation of this is arrived at a very basic principle of we are going for odds that are basically higher than they should be. We know the chance of 1.75 plus is 57%. Well, we're finding games where there's at least 65% chance of over 2.5 goals based on their recent history. And actually, we're going to get higher odds than that because that's our minimum odds range. So, we've got a game here where the odds are 2.06. Now, do I insta-trade those? No. Like I say, test it forward. Find out what works, what leagues, what odds, right? But the point is you've already got yourself a really solid base to work from. And it literally takes seconds, right? And again, that's a good way of finding value on the market. Now, I'm not going to go too much in depth on that today. That is actually the topic of the next masterclass. I'm going to mention this in a bit. So I'm not going to go into too much depth on that. But hopefully that's kind of giving you an example and giving you an idea of what you can do. You can do a similar thing on the horse racing. And obviously with the horse racing, you can actually back test it. So you can instantly see, well, what would the results have been over the last few months or years? Okay, so we're pretty much rounding off the workshop here, but let's go back over what we've learned and let's try and really reflect on what we've learned. So decimal odds are prices based on percentage chances of something happening. Compare odds to percentage chance of the outcome happening to determine value. So odds plus percentage chance equals potential value. Okay, that's all. That's the only equation you need to learn. And if that confuses you, like I say, pause, make notes, go back and watch certain things. Once you grasp that, you will start to really grasp how to trade. Odds are determined by computer models plus big bets placed or high volume. And often that comes from public opinion as well. So don't always think that the bookies get it right, because they don't. Leicester. If anyone ever tells you, just go, Leicester. Only bet or trade when you think a selection is value. Right? Not because you think it will win. And I've gone over a few times why we should do that. Hopefully that has sunk in. Use the Betfair Trading Community software available to you, and you've all got access to this to make it an easy process. Some of you guys don't use it, which baffles me. And some of you guys don't even try and create your own strategies, again, which baffles me. guys, this is something you must be doing, guys and girls, obviously. I know there's a few girls on the site. What's next? So I've already given you a little bit of a preview on this one, but next month's masterclass will be on how to use software to find value selections to bet or trade. Now, you've had a little bit of a preview on that, but that's going to be the whole focus of the next masterclass because it's such an important subject, right? Now, I've got a few questions I want you to reflect on. I will send these out next week, and you can send me back your answers, and I will feature them in a video. I'll keep your names anonymous, don't worry, so feel free to reply to that email when I send it. But here are some reflection questions. Read them and give me your answers below. Number 1, do you now feel that you understand Betfair odds? Number 2, how might you find value on Betfair trading markets? Number 3, why is it worth checking percentage chance of winning? And number 4, have you tried to create your own strategy using the software? If not, why? And I really would implore you that, a bit of a homework task, a bit of an extra. I know I do this kind of at the start of the masterclass month, and we've already done our quick win. But if you get the chance and you haven't already tried, try and create your own strategy, okay? And if you struggle with it, just get in touch. We will help you. We've helped many people build strategies over the past 10 years. It's water off the duck's back to us, so don't ever worry about contacting us about such things. I hope you've enjoyed this masterclass, guys. I've really enjoyed teaching this because I feel like the reason I've done this as such an early one in the podcast, in the masterclass series, is that I feel it's foundational. It's a cornerstone of Betfair trading. And we've got so much experience in Betfair trading in this industry and placing millions upon millions of trades and bets in our lives that we know how important this is. So really grasp it, guys. Really take it on. Like I say, go and rewatch it if you want to. Take notes. Do all those things because this training is what will help separate you from the average Joe trader. Okay, guys, I hope you have a great week. I hope you have a great rest of the month. I will have these questions sent out to you, and then I'll do a video on the answers and a bit of a video on the quick wins as well from earlier in the month to round off this month. And then we will get into next month's training. So I'm mega excited about the future of Masterclass. Thank you for all your support and your great feedback. Love to you all, and I hope this works out for you.